Good evening, my dear fellow Toastmasters and guests. I am Kirtana, your Sergeant at Arms just for today, and I am pleased to welcome you all to our meeting. Since words are more powerful than words, I request you all to choose your words very carefully while speaking on any topic. Please turn on your cameras, it'll liven up the meeting. Stay on mute unless you need to speak and keep encouraging all our role takers and speakers. We ask God for strength. He gives us difficulties to make us strong. We ask wisdom. We are given problems to solve. We ask for courage. We are given dangers to overcome. When we ask for favors, we are given opportunities. All these have built us into strong people we are today, whom we can face any situation thrown at us. What do you all think? What made you all so strong? Give it a thought. When this brave heart was asked her take on this theme, she said, "The fact that keeps me grounded is that I'm only another person. Every responsibility, every title comes with respect. So it's not the person, it's the society that respects us. It respects the title or the job that you're doing. So I'm very grounded to the fact that once these go away, I remain just another brick in the wall." Please join me in welcoming our lovely president, Hannah Victoria.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Kirtana, for that introduction. Thank you, and I like the tag, what you renamed yourself just for today. It reminds me of just do it. A very good evening, dear Toastmasters. A special good evening to distinguished Toastmaster Matthew Verghese, and a warm welcome to our guests who have joined us today. I now declare meeting 1308 open. For the benefit of the guests, the Bangalore Toastmasters Club is the second oldest and the second largest club in over 800 clubs in India. And ours is a community club. Here you get to listen and learn from experiences from an 18-year-old to a 72-year-old. And this year we celebrate our 25th anniversary. So welcome once again to all our lovely guests. May I now request the Toastmaster Vishal to please present the minutes of the previous meeting. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, Toastmasters and dear guests. The previous meeting number 1307, was themed Unleash the Chatterbox. The word of the day was ruse, an action intended to deceive someone. The session started on time at 6:30 with our Sergeant at Arms Toastmaster Chetana taking charge with her amazing energy, which made an online meeting ecstatic. Then followed Toastmaster Chetana was our president, Toastmaster Hannah, who with stories from her own life inspired us. Then she passed on the baton to the Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Priyanka Ranore, who connected all the meetings, all the sessions of the meeting with amazing energy and great accuracy. Then came the prepared speeches. First was Toastmaster Vasamati, who broke the ice with amazing verbal visuals and amazing humor. Then came Toastmaster Sanjay. With his speech, he mentored us about mentoring, if you will. These speeches were evaluated by distinguished Toastmaster Teresa and distinguished Toastmaster Lalit, respectively, who both gave clinical evaluations. Then came the table topic session. Not being very honest, being very humble, it was an amazing session, great session. It was headed by Toastmaster Vishal. Great session. He took us back to the theaters during the pandemic. That was very modest of me to say. Next came the evaluation session where The general evaluator of the day, Toastmaster Jose Paul, gave precise evaluations with his Taggle team about the entire session. The winners of the meeting were, for Taggle team, Toastmaster Alan, for role taker, Toastmaster Jose Paul, for table topic speaker, Toastmaster Vijay Sai, for best evaluator, DTM Teresa Ma'am, then for best speaker, Toastmaster Vasimati. The meeting had 45 members and 9 guests and ended at 8:05. After which we had a business meeting the minutes of which were shared by the treasurer, Toastmaster Pratik. And I just wanted to apologize. I read the name of the Sergeant at Arms wrong. It was Toastmaster Chaitra. Thank you. Over to you, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Vishal, for stepping in. Will it be okay to pass any amendments to the minutes which has just been presented? I declare the minutes of the meeting 1307 as passed. Coming to the theme of today's meeting, a tree that has grounded its roots well fears no gale. I didn't want to pretend with my husband that I had all my thoughts together for the meeting. I asked him, what is your take on this topic? And he said, you are a Toastmaster. He thinks that basically I've earned to have the title Toastmaster. I thought, just let it be that way. But anyway, I said, please tell me what you thought about it. And he said, he immediately related the tree to our lives. And he said, the more disciplined we are, the more committed, the more humbled, the more principled we are, the better for us to face life's challenges. Which I totally agree, that the more grounded we are, the better it is to face challenges. If you come to think of it, at any point in our lives, we either are in a storm, or we are getting into a storm, or we are just out of a storm. However, I'd like to trigger your thoughts to another aspect. Say since we are saying that the tree is us, what if we consider that when we were a seed, what happens to a seed when it needs the soil, it needs earth, it needs sunlight, and it needs water. So basically, it needs support. That reminds me of a quote which says, no man is an island entire to itself. Every man is a piece of a continent, a part of the main. So basically, we all need support. And I want to focus on the support which comes from family. I think family is a big factor, how we mold ourselves, how we face people, how we face our lives. I come from a joint family. I grew up in a joint family, and we had many cousins. My father passed away when I was 3.5, and my mother was a homemaker. My brother is around 11 years elder to me, and he basically took being a father figure very seriously. So I was very, very afraid of him. He was like God to me. However, on the other side, I had such good fun with my 5 cousin sisters. They were way elder to me, elder to my brother as well. So I could balance it out. I had good times with them. And I had 2 more cousin brothers. Both of them we lost to addiction. And they got into drugs at a very young age. And I realized how they wasted their life and they just couldn't come out of it, how it affected the family, how it affected my aunt to see both her children just waste away. And they were brilliant, brilliant young men. in their studies. I remember if I'm sure many of you will also recall, we used to have this UGC program in the afternoons, University Grant Commission programs. They used to sit down and watch that program like as if every day a movie was playing. So they were absolutely brilliant, but then yet we lost them to drugs. And I realized the value of how an addiction can destroy a life and how important time is. And I also realized from my mother and brother how to be prudent with money. So basically, and coming back to life now, without the support of my family, without the support of my husband, I may not be able to pursue a career, neither would I be able to pursue Toastmasters. So basically, whatever we do, the family is grounded, the soil. I would compare the family to the soil, and the roots cannot be uprooted only when the soil is firm. So I would think that the family is very, very important support system for us. There are two women which I admire greatly. One is Indra Nooyi, the former CEO of PepsiCo, and Mrs. Sudha Murthy, who's the chairman of Infosys Foundation. Both of them, if you listen to them, they would say that a support system in the form of a family is very, very important for you to face the world. So I'd like to request you in your quiet time to give gratitude or to your family, to people who support you in whatever you do. I've heard speakers before saying that, tell them I love them, or tell them, that you care for them. And I found it, sometimes I found it hard to do that. But to start off with, if we can, in our quiet time, I'm sure each one of us have that quiet time, to send a best wish, to have a smile when you think about them, and to know that they are there with you. With that, we move on. I would like to introduce you to the Toastmaster of today. The Toastmaster of today, she joined us in May 2021. She's been quite an enthusiastic Toastmaster. She's played several roles time and again. She's been mentored by Toastmaster Simran Chopra. And she's such a brave heart, I would say, because the month she joined, she stood for the elections. And then she also joined the subcommittee of the PR term the term which just finished. And even now she's stepping in for the TMOD who couldn't be for some emergency for just on Tuesday. So she has stepped in for that gentleman. Please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Sakshi Takral to the stage, please.
Thank you, President Hannah, for this lovely introduction. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, a very good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Happy to see you all this Friday evening. Why don't we start today's meeting with a positive share? Can I please request you all to share one good thing happened to you this week in the chat? You can share in form of few words or a sentence. One good thing happened to you this week. We have got some 30-40 seconds for this. Recovered from COVID, exams got postponed. Wow. Tested negative. Got to sleep a lot. Best. Me time, for sure. That's best. Able to help some people. Such happiness it brings, yeah. Won a lot of foosball. Great. Giving my speech. Lay down on the terrace to stargaze. Interesting. Okay. Thank you everyone for sharing. This positivity, hope is all that we need. We have got a beautiful theme for the day. A tree whose roots are deeply grounded fears no gale. I'm sure we all resonate with this. Like President Hannah also said, in life, we need certain things to keep us grounded and give us a reason to stay calm when things get tough. It could be our family, our friends, or even our moral values belief system. Let me share a story about me, what works for me. When I was doing my master's back in Mumbai in 2015, I had a mentor in my college called Bindya ma'am. She recently had a tragic incident in her life. Her father had expired. She told me, Sakshi, people say whatever happens, happens for the best. But what's best in it? My father died. Could anything be good in it? When later she told, maybe we need to have a different viewpoint to see life. She told, when my father expired, all members of my family, we got close, which we were not. We were distant. My father became the caretaker of the family, and we all are now bonded really well. So she taught me a lesson. Maybe whatever happens for the best might not be true, but whatever happens, you can make the best out of it. That has become the mantra of my life now, and a way to see things, an attitude to live life. Whatever happens, we can make the best out of it. No matter any stress, any difficult times come, but maybe it's difficult, but let's see what can we do here. That keeps me going. Moving on from roots of a tree to roots that keep us grounded, let's talk about the roots of Toastmasters. I'm sure we have got some guests today. They would be curious to know the history of Toastmasters. So friends, let me tell you, Toastmasters movement began in 1924. It was initiated by a person called Rolf C. Smedley. He created this platform to help people overcome their fear of public speaking. No wonder it was a hit. And it had such an impact that as of today, it's present globally in 149 countries with more than 15,000 clubs and 3 lakh active members. And this is just the data, but also for us, we join the club, we become regular at meetings, we take up roles, and we keep getting better. So it has been impactful for all of us. Let me also quickly share the format of this meeting, as some members are new here. There are some guests here. So a typical Toastmasters meeting has 3 sections. The first is prepared speeches, where people prepare speeches beforehand, get it mentored by their mentors, and deliver it here. The second section, we call it table topic session, in which people are supposed to talk impromptu. Even members and even the guests can take part. Randomly, some topic is given. You have to speak impromptu for 1 to 2 minutes. The third section, which is quite an important section, is the evaluation section, in which what all we have done so far is being evaluated. But the good news is we have one more session today, education session, and we have a special guest for that today. We'll talk about it later when we come to it. So as I told you, we have evaluation section. So there is a general evaluator who conducts this session. And today we are privileged to have one of the most popular and a favorite member of the club who has taken up this role. This person wears multiple hats. He's a mentor, he's an academician, he's a trainer, he's a life coach, he's a motivational speaker and whatnot. He has got triple master's degree and 1 PhD. He's also a recipient of National Award as role model for empowerment of persons with disability from the President of India. He's a very eloquent speaker, has got a great sense of humor, and has won many contests, not at district and national level, but also at international level. He's also a featured TEDx speaker. Outside work, he loves listening to old Hindi music and is also regular at listening to audiobooks. He has got a beautiful motto of life, which has really inspired me. Touching lives, making a difference. Can someone guess who this gentleman is? Or is it something everyone can guess?
Rajdeep, sir.
That's true. So DTM, Dr. Rajdeep Manwani would be the general evaluator of the day. It's our privilege to have him as this role taker. I'll invite him later, but let me also introduce about his team. So we have got a TEDL team. There will be 4 people who each will play a role of timer, counter, listener, and grammarian. So as timer, today we have Toastmaster Akhilesh. Toastmaster Akhilesh is a project manager in an IT company. And last year, he got a beautiful gift as he got blessed with a baby girl. Can I please invite you, Toastmaster Akhilesh, to explain your role?
Thank you, Toastmaster Sakshi, for that introduction. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and their guests. As a timer, I will be timing all the formal speeches, table topics, and the evaluations today. For the prepared speeches, the duration of the speech should be between 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, I'll change my background color to green. At 6, I'll change it to amber. And at 7, I'll change it to red. And for the table topics, the duration of the speech should be between 1 minute to 1 minute 30 seconds. So I'll change my background to green at 1 minute, to amber at 1 minute 15 seconds, and to red at 1 minute 30 seconds. The evaluations should be between 2 to 3 minutes. So I'll change my background to green at 2 minutes, amber at 2 minute 30 seconds, and to red at 3 minutes. So I'll present my report at the end of the meeting when called upon by the general evaluator. Thanks, and back to TM.
Thank you, Timer Akhilesh. Today, as our counter, we have Toastmaster Sanjay Rao. Toastmaster Sanjay is an IT professional, and when I asked about highlight of his last year, he told about an amazing adventurous bike trip he had to Hassan. It was all raining, it got dark, but he kept riding. He still gets goosebumps thinking about it. Can I please invite you, Toastmaster Sanjay, to explain your role?
Thank you, Toastmaster Sakshi. So I'm the counter today. So I'll be listening to the crutch words that the speakers use, which is and the repeated phrases like and, so, you know. And I was already started noting down these crutch words at 6:30 when the meeting started. So I'll be presenting the report when called upon by the general evaluator during the meeting. Thank you. Over to you, Toastmaster Sakshi.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sanjay. As grammarian, today we have Toastmaster Vinay. Toastmaster Vinay works at a Target corporation, and his best memory from last year was walking in Pangong Lake in Ladakh at -6 degrees. I'm sure that must be really amazing. Can I please invite you, Toastmaster Vinay, to explain your role?
Thank you, Toastmaster Sakshi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmaster and respected guests. As a grammarian, it is my responsibility to pay close attention to the speaker, listen carefully to their language usage. I'll take note of any improper language or as well as any outstanding words, what is being used, any sayings, quotes, and thoughts. As a grammarian, it is also my duty to introduce the word for the day. The word for the day is frame, which means to give a false appearance or an impression, to imagine, to invent, or to pretend. Just to give an example, I have framed my parents' signature on my marks card when I got less marks. My friend framed that he was not keeping well so that he could leave the party early. Each speaker is encouraged to use the word for the day. I will give the grammarian report when called upon during the meeting and also report on the usage of word for the day. Thank you, Toastmaster TM. Back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vinay. As listener, we have Toastmaster Utkarsh. Toastmaster Utkarsh is a recent graduate and currently he is working as a content creator for EduStoke. His best memory from last year was watching his favorite football team, Chelsea, win the tournament after 9 years. It was a high that existed in his mind for 1 week. Can I please invite you, Toastmaster Utkarsh, to explain your role?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. As the listener today, I'm going to take a bit of time and have a fun audio experiment with you guys. This went viral in the May of 2018. Some of you may have heard of it. Now, I want you to listen to this audio clip and tell me what word do you hear? Do you hear the word Yanni, Y-A-N-N-Y, or Laurel, L-A-U-R-E-L? Okay, can some of you unmute and tell me what you heard? Did you hear the word Yanni or Laurel?
Laurel.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Laurel.
Yes, that's the difference. So apparently, if you are older or if you're old at heart, you hear the word Laurel. But if you are younger or if you hear the word Yanni. So I hope all of you hear words today, because as the listener, I will note interesting tidbits about the speakers and ask you a few questions at the end of the meeting. Back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Utkarsh. Thank you, whole Taggle team, for taking up role and explaining your role. It's time to jump into the prepared speeches. Before I invite the first speaker, I would like to invite the first evaluator of the day. It's Toastmaster Somashekar. Toastmaster Somashekar works as a senior director at Enphase Energy, and his best memory from last year was his son graduating and daughter getting into university. A proud parent moment for sure. Toastmaster Somashekar, can I please invite you to read the guideline for the speaker?
Thank you, Toastmaster Sakshi. So next speaker is attempting project 3 from the Pathways manual. It's a level 1. And the purpose of this project is for the member to learn or review basic research methods and present a well-organized, well-researched speech on any topic. The time 5 to 7 minutes. Over to you, Toastmaster Sakshi.
Thank you, Toastmaster Somashekar. So our first speaker of the day, he's a finance professional. He's working as an auditor in a hospital and is also pursuing his CA. He really enjoys trekking and has trekked a lot in and around Bangalore. He is into self-help books, loves reading them, and is also a big fan of Carnatic music. He's action-oriented, straightforward, and loves his me time. Times of stress, nothing to worry. He has got his mantra meditation to sail him through. Friends, please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Rajanna, who will present his level 1 project 3 speech in leadership development category. Please welcome Toastmaster Rajanna for his speech post-payment.
A few days before it was 2022, on 18th of December 2021, one of my friends had posted this meme as his WhatsApp status. The meme is, it reads as, me risking my job, career, and future to get an extra 15 minutes of sleep. So this is the meme, and I hope all of us are able to correlate and guess what am I trying to say. It is procrastination or postponement. So good evening, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. We postpone our action even before we start our day, right on the bed by snoozing our phone. So I have prepared a list of resolutions for 2022. I'm still stuck in following them. Why? Because I've postponed a lot of my actions and I'm not happy about it. So I'm working on how to avoid this postponement and work towards achieving my goal. So when we have a goal set, we work there are so many reasons why we are stuck and we may not try to achieve that goal. So today, I'm going to talk about the reasons why we procrastinate or postpone our actions. So the dictionary meaning of the word procrastination is the action of delaying or postponing something. So we postpone because of three main reasons. So I'm going to highlight those three main reasons for all of you. The first one is bad mood. The source of this cause of procrastination is an article printed on 25th of March 2019 in the newspaper The New York Times by Charlotte Lieberman, who is a mental health thought leader and a certified hypnotherapist. She says, procrastination is not about laziness. It's about how we settle doing small things instead of the big tasks that we are supposed to achieve. So we settle for small things. So that may be because we are not able to deal with our emotions such as boredom, anxiety, insecurity, frustration, self-doubt, and beyond. For example, we may have to write or we may have to prepare a long, boring spreadsheet for our boss, or we may have to write a report on our assignment. So when we decide to take up this task, there comes a feeling. So staring at that blank document, we start thinking, am I smart enough to do this? Even if I am, so what will people think of me? I'm not good at this. Writing is so bad. What if I do a bad job? All of this will lead us to postpone our action and avoid doing it. So this is what she talked about in this entire article. What I understand from this article is, we, instead of doing the important stuff, we settle for immediate relief, which is pleasing and calm. It is a self-harm for us. So according to her, procrastination is an emotion regulation problem. It is not a time management problem. So the second cause is abstract goals. The source of this cause of procrastination is a website by name solvingprocrastination.com, where the information is curated based on numerous scientific articles. So we are likely to procrastinate when our goals are vague or abstract, when compared to our goals are concrete and solid. For example, we may decide that I will start getting fit or start exercising. These goals are vague, are not clear. So there is a high chance that we will procrastinate on these types of goals. So conversely, we can think of goal like this. I will go to gym on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right after the work, and spend 30 minutes of time on treadmill running at a high speed. This goal is more concrete, more solid. So this will lead us to take action. So in addition to this, there is some other factors which will make goal more abstract. For example, if our goal is highly impossible, it will make us think that we are not going to achieve that goal. Then it is an abstract goal and we will avoid achieving that goal and we'll procrastinate on that. So the next reason of procrastination is, so this cause of procrastination is by a book called Still Procrastinating, written by Joseph R. Ferrari. He is a professor of psychology in Ottawa University. So he says in his book, we procrastinate on tasks because we are overly optimistic about our ability to do them in the future, not now. He says, instead of thinking now and then, now and here, we focus on our ability to complete that in the future. For example, a student might decide to postpone his assignment, which is due a few weeks from now, thinking that he will have a lot of time to do it in the future. So this is one of the reasons. So this kind of over optimism It comes from our ability to underestimate the time it takes to complete our actions in the future. We underestimate the time. We think it will be enough for 5 minutes of time will be enough for me to prepare for a meeting. Or we may think 1 hour of study before the exam is enough for me to study for the exam. So this is the reason it will lead both the procrastinator and non-procrastinator to assume that they will be able to complete the task early than they actually will. So these are the 3 main reasons of procrastination which caught my attention, or maybe the reason why I am procrastinating. So there are various reasons why we procrastinate. So try to understand what is your reason for procrastination, because understanding why we procrastinate is beneficial, because it's going to help us come up with the action plan. Try to understand what is your reason for procrastination so that you can have an action plan to deal with it. Because our 2022 should not end up like this video which I'm going to show you now. So this is all about my speech. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rajanna. Please join me in giving a big round of applause for Toastmaster Rajanna for delivering a wonderful, insightful speech. Thank you so much. And I'm sure at least some of us, at least to some extent, will help overcome procrastination. Thank you. Moving on, we had a speech today for second speaker was supposed to Toastmaster Varsha, evaluated by Toastmaster Alan Arana. Unfortunately, her grandfather is sick and she won't be able to deliver a speech today. Let us all pray for better recovery of his grandfather, and let's hope Toastmaster Varsha would be soon back with her speech. So we'll jump into the next session, the table topic session. And today, to conduct the table topics session, we have a wonderful person. He is a product director by profession. Outside work, he has so many hobbies. I was really inspired to know all that. So I was inspired to know his fitness regime. He is into HIT, mixed martial arts, cycling, running. He has done ultra marathons. He also loves nature and keeps going to the mountains. He recently went to Ladakh and did Brahmatal trek last year. He is also a certified scuba diver. Also, he has began with a new chapter in his life as he has recently become a dog parent. Can anyone guess?
Nestor.
Please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Nestor, who will conduct table topic session. Toastmaster Nestor.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sakshi. I think the clue was in my name on Zoom, but too many people on mute currently. Let me start off with a quick introduction about the role. When I first joined Toastmasters, I was quite convinced that the role of the Table Topics Master is to make everyone's life very hard. Then I realized it was actually not that. It's basically to help everyone, help people get a chance to practice impromptu speaking. Though a little bit of a trait of sadism does help, but we will leave that out of this evening's topic. In keeping with today's topic of being well rooted and not going with the strongest gale, we have a set of questions that are very interesting. That's inward looking as well as outward looking in every which possible way. So without further ado, let me call upon the first speakers. I will introduce the topic and then I will call the speakers. Each speaker will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to speak. We have our timer Akhilesh who will be giving clues. He will be giving cues. So please make sure that his video is pinned so you know if you are exceeding time. Thank you. And with that, I call upon the first speaker, who's Vijay Sai. And Vijay, your topic for today is, when was the last time you tried something new? I repeat, when was the last time you tried something new?
The last time I tried something new is right now. I usually don't log in from the phone for any TM meeting. I usually am in a laptop, I dress up well, and only then do it. But today, as I got to root myself wherever I am, and although it's not your task to see that you are putting us in a fix, I still have done something different right now. I'm standing in the hall because there are different trainings going on in different rooms. And I'm walking as I'm speaking, looking at all of you. And this is the right now, I've done something different. And I love to do something different because when we do something different, we have something inside us that often automatically opens up. Because life is about always being different. How sick it is to eat the same food every day. How bad is it to say wearing the same kinds of clothes every day? Do you go for a vacation year after year to the same place? Or does your table topics, the theme of table topics repeat week after week? No. There's always something different that happens because the spice of life is in being different. And when you enjoy the spice of life of being different, your life gets that extra punch and you start enjoying every moment of your day. So fellow Toastmasters and Toastmaster of the day, what I mean to say is I live differently every moment. And although I'm doing something different right now, I seek opportunities to do things differently because I'm different. I'm unique. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay, for that and for taking us on the journey as you were doing something new. The next topic is, what simple gesture have you recently witnessed that renewed your hope in humanity? What simple gesture have you recently witnessed that renewed your hope in humanity? And the speaker for this topic is Sudipta Ghosh. Could I call upon Sudipta Ghosh, please?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Nestor. What have I witnessed recently? Well, let me narrate an incident, maybe not too recent, maybe a year old. So I came upon, I mean, we were, as you know, I mean, 1 year back, we were midst of this pandemic wave, which was at its height. And there was, apart from the, the sickness associated with the thing, there was a lot of helplessness all around. People had lost their jobs. People didn't know where the next meal was there, and there was a lot of outpouring of on the other side. There was a lot of outpouring of empathy all around, and people were trying to help each other. People were trying to give whatever they could in different amount of donations, right? But amongst all those stories, one thing really stood out for me, which was so heartwarming. There was this, very old lady somewhere in rural Karnataka. I don't remember her name or remember the place, but this was this person who came out and donated some 500 rupees to a self-help group there who was arranging the food around there. 500 may not be a large amount, but then when you transpose it to her situation, this was a old lady who was drawing a pension of about 600 rupees a month, and she went ahead and donated 500 out of that. I mean that's to me is the height of humanity, and that's what I thought, something very different I observed in the last 1 year or so. Back to you, Nestor.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Sudipto. And yes, it's stories like this in a time of crisis that really shine through and give us hope. So thank you for the beautiful example. The next topic is, what's the most sensible thing you've ever heard someone say? What's the most sensible thing you've ever heard someone say? And could I call upon the esteemed Ushi Mohandas for this, please? Toastmaster Ushi, are you still available? Okay, I guess not. Can I call upon Toastmaster Kamlesh?
Yeah, thank you, Nestor, for this wonderful topic. What is a sensible thing that I have heard recently? I think, many times it happens that in life, you come across many people and many professionals altogether. But sometimes it happens that all of a sudden somebody comes in your professional life and say that you don't know anything, you don't have that kind of a vision. I think that is a small, that is a word that is a really hit me hard, because once you don't know that as a person, as a appearance, but once you interact, but the way that you project yourself, then you will able to understand that how the level of gravity the person is having. So what I used to say that don't judge the person by just face or physique. uh, Once you interact, and one of my professors used to say that if you really want to judge a person, I spend the time with the person whole night, and then you will understand that his behavior. So I think that is what is required in today's moment. You don't judge just by seeing by look, or even don't judge the book by the cover, and that is also applies to the person. So I think we should be very sensible when we are talking, when we are talking to someone, and giving your judgment. So don't judge a person. You have to be spend time, and then you make a decision. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Kamlesh. Along with your speech, that's a really beautiful t-shirt that you have on. It really adds color to today's meeting. Thank you. The next topic is, what do you wish you spent more time doing 5 years ago? What do you wish you spent more time doing 5 years ago? I call upon Aditya for this, Toastmaster Aditya.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Yes. The thing which the topic is, I forgot the topic. Can you repeat it, please?
What do you wish you spent more time doing 5 years ago?
What I want to do, what I wish to do with more time 5 years ago is inculcate the habit of reading, because I've been reading for the past 10 years. But the inclusion of reading, especially increasing the time duration per day to spend reading, has given me so much knowledge which one would not get from typical life experience or watching movies or Netflix, for example. Reading has also given me immense vocabulary, which comes into use in daily life, as well as my enunciation of certain topics and speeches which they give at Toastmasters. Reading also basically captures the entire person's experience and worldview and compresses it into a 300-page book. And for example, there is this book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, which would have taken you a whole lifetime in order to accumulate that knowledge. But just through reading, you can have all of the knowledge in the time period of 5 to 10 minutes per day. You just dedicate the time period and you absorb the knowledge which a person has imbibed onto the world, and you achieve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. And reading is something that most of us could do a lot more of. Perfect. The next topic is, what's a belief that you hold which many people disagree with. This is for Toastmaster Alan. The topic again is, what's a belief that you hold which many people disagree with?
Thank you so much, Nestor, for that wonderful topic. Now, what is the belief that I hold that a lot of people don't agree with? Now, that's very interesting. But growing up, I was always of the firm belief that studies is not everything, right? And a lot of people especially used to say, it's very, very important because that's the foundation of your life. It's a very important aspect of your life. So many times I was very, very unsure about myself, right? And slowly I started to understand that probably what I said was kind of true as well, because a lot of times growing up, we study something that we're really not interested in, right? So you have geography, you have history, you have moral science, you have all these topics. And just because you're not good at all of them, does that make you any less than your neighbor or your compatriot, right? So as I went along, I understood that if you are interested in what you do, then you will shine no matter what. And a lot of people growing up are given to believe that studies are the most important aspect of your life, and that is the basis for success. And as you all know, that doesn't account to success as all, in all forms, whether it's relationships, the friendships that you hold, what are your passions in your life, and what you choose to do with your life. There are so many aspects to life that make you successful. And that's a belief that I had. And a lot of people don't share this view, but I guess each to his own. And as long as you feel successful in your heart, that's all that matters. Back to Mr.
Thank you for that, Alan. Those words of wisdom that are definitely far beyond your years. And those who are in the audience who are still in school, please stay in school. Just saying. Okay, the next topic is, what would you do differently if you knew nobody would judge you? And this is a topic for a Toastmaster from another club, Toastmaster Rupa. What would you do differently if you knew nobody would judge you?
Thank you very much, Table Topics Master, Toastmaster Lester. What would I do differently if I knew nobody would judge me? This is a question that I have a lot of difficulty answering because I have the opposite problem. I've never thought about what people would think about me for a very significant part of my life throughout my entire schooling. And it took like the major part of my college years for me to learn to think about what people were thinking about me and then, act accordingly. So if you ask me what I would do differently if nobody would judge me, here are a few things that I actually did differently. The first thing, I remember my first day of college, and to give you some context, I went to the same school for 14 years, and I was like really ready for the change. I was ready to like embrace a whole new world and like explore every opportunity that was there in college. So I remember the first day of my college when my class advisor stood in front of me, and he asked the entire class, how many of you are aiming to get a 10 CGPA? And the entire class was pin drop silent. One over-enthusiastic potato on the first bench rose its hand and confidently asked, why not, sir? That over-enthusiastic potato was me. So I am that category of people who would probably annoy the previous table topic speaker very, very much and like consider education to be a holy grail. And to give you some more context, I did absolutely nothing in my school life apart from study and like go to school and come back. So I think being free of thinking about what other people would, or at least feigning to think about what other people would think about you is very liberating, and all of you should give it a try and like scream out to the world whatever is there inside your head. Back to the table topics, master.
Thank you for that, Rupa. And one thing is very clear, the enthusiasm that you had on the first day of college certainly comes through. The next topic is a little long one, but it is, if you had a friend who spoke to you in the exact same way that you sometimes speak to yourself, how long would you allow this person to be your friend? This is a topic for Toastmaster Aaron Kamath. Aaron, the topic again is, if you had a friend who spoke to you in the same way that you sometimes speak to yourself, how long would you allow this person to be your friend?
Good evening, Toastmasters guests, and thank you for the lovely topic. If I had someone who spoke to me the same way that I spoke to myself, I probably wouldn't be friends with the person for a very long time. They would have been a very distant, long forgotten friend from school, or maybe primary school. You see, I can speak personally for myself, not for everyone in the crowd, but I need someone who gives me different perspective, and to be very honest, who puts me in my place. I think most of us, we need friends who can give us the stark reality of things, be supportive, but also pull us down when we start flying a little too high. I have friends who, after a long time, and it's taken years and a lot of hard work, but who can be honest with me and tell me things that I may not want to hear. And that in itself is an achievement in terms of a relationship or a friendship. The problem is, had I had a friend who speaks to me the same way that I did, I would either be too nice or too harsh on myself. And I think both are not good. I think we need things in moderation and with great timing, especially to build our self-confidence, to give us reassurance, and to help us grow. So to sum up, a lifelong friend definitely wouldn't be someone like me. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Aaron. That was extremely well put, actually. Did not sound impromptu at all. Okay, the next topic is, if the average human lifespan was 40 years, how would you live your life differently? This is a topic for Toastmaster Richard D'Souza. The topic again is, if the average lifespan was 40 years, how would you live your life differently? Richard D'Souza, sir, are you around? Okay, I guess not. Can I call upon Toastmaster Sumitra? Toastmaster Sumitra, are you able to get off mute and take this topic? Okay, let me call upon Nagesh, Toastmaster Nagesh Ramamurthy. They normally say third time's the charm. Not this time, apparently. Okay, how many times can a person strike out? Dolly Pereira, Toastmaster Dolly Pereira, are you going to step up?
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this topic, Toastmaster Nestor. Well, I haven't thought so much how differently I would live, if I was 40. Like adulting at this age itself is a little hard. Yes, maybe I would have, if I knew things would have been different, I would have probably gathered courage and gone abroad. That's one thing which has been on my list. But again, when I think about it, I would say, no, it's okay. Like, staying back at home is more convenient and you have things to do here. So that's one thing which I would have lived differently if I knew the life would have been shorter. And that's all I can think about. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dolly. Thank you for taking that topic, and that is definitely a deeper one. Okay, let's go on to the next topic. We have time for maybe one or two more topics at speakers at best. And the topic is, if happiness was the national currency, what kind of work would make you rich? Is Toastmaster Jainam Kakra, are you able to take this topic?
Yes, I'm here. Can you repeat the topic?
Yes, the topic again is, if happiness was the national currency, what kind of work would make you rich?
Okay, so if happiness was the national currency, then what kind of work would make me rich? Well, the thing that I'm doing right now. So I'm a master's student in math and I have to do that all day and it's fun, it's hard, it's interesting. So yeah, that would make me happy. Yeah. That's about it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jaina. And we have maybe time for one more. If you could go back in time and tell a younger version of yourself one thing, what would you tell yourself? Topic for Melvin Smith, Toastmaster Melvin Smith. Maybe he's dropped off. Okay, can I call upon Guru Raj for this topic? Sumitra ma'am, are you available to take this topic now? No, not. George Desa, can I call upon you to take this topic? The topic again is, if you could go back in time and tell a younger version of yourself one thing, what would you tell yourself?
Yes. Thank you, Toastmaster Nesta, for this topic. So, sorry, there is some issue with my video. I'll stop this. Okay. Yeah. So, I just if I get a chance to go back and to guide for the younger ones, I could probably say that whenever after my 10th, I didn't have clarity to go to the next, what to do, and same with after diploma. So I would say that to explore new things, to explore different ventures, different things, and to get the clarity in the major milestone in our life, to get a global picture and to step into that and to opt for that. Maybe a major milestone when we go for major studies or major personal life on the marriage and other things, get first the global perspective. So there are some things which I missed in my life. So I would suggest to the younger ones, whenever you select on the major milestone in your life, get a global picture first, then you will have a clear roadmap or clarity to go ahead on that. So that's my thought on that and take on that. Thank you, Nestor, for this topic.
Thank you, George. And with that, we come, with George's words of wisdom, we come to the end of the table topic session for this meeting. The voting link for table topics will be sent shortly. I request you to please take a minute, for all members to take a minute to put in your vote. The passcode is 1308. I repeat, the passcode will be 1308. And with that, it's back to Toastmaster Sakshi. Thank you.
Many, many congratulations, Toastmaster Nestor, for conducting a wonderful, fun table topic session. Can we all please give a big round of applause to Toastmaster Nestor and all the participants? We'll pause for maybe 30 seconds. And as Toastmaster Nestor mentioned, voting link has been shared. Let us all vote for the best table topic speaker. All right, now it's time for the third section of the meeting for the day, which is evaluation section. And for that, I would like to invite DTM Dr. Rajdeep Manmani for his clinical evaluation. Can we all please welcome DTM Dr. Rajdeep Manmani on the digital podium?
Thank you so much, Sakshi. Am I audible?
Yes.
When I saw the theme of the day today, the trees which have the strongest roots can withstand the gale, it reminded me of a story which is said in the Indian scriptures. There was this wind god called Vayu who turned into a storm and went through and ravaged a forest. And the forest, several trees were uprooted and there was complete chaos here and there. There was a sage who lived in that same forest who noticed something very strange. He found that most of the pine trees had been uprooted and gone away with the storm, but the willow trees, the weeds, and the bamboo grass had not got eroded, and it wasn't that it had gone away with the storm. They still stood there. So the sage mustered all his meditative powers and concentrated and prayed to the god Vayu and asked him, how is it that when you went and ravaged this entire forest, only the pine trees were blown away, while the willow trees, the bamboo grass, and the reeds remained? He said there was one difference. The pine trees did not bend when I was going through it, while the willow trees bend, the bamboo grass bent, and I had to just go through them. The pine tree resisted me and it had to go through and it had to get eroded. So sometimes it's not only the roots, it's your acceptance or your resistance which makes you stand the storms in life. So let's talk about today's meeting. And I was reminded of the story also because of the reason that sometimes it takes a little courage to bend and accept some of the points of correction. Because if we are rigid that whatever we are doing is right, then there would be no need of a general evaluator. But when we accept things and we bend a little and just think, okay, might be this suggestion can be useful, that's what makes a big difference. The meeting today started at sharp 6:30 and we had our Sergeant at Arms just for today, Kirtana, and I joined the meeting around 10 minutes earlier and she kept reminding us 5 minutes for the meeting, 3 minutes for the meeting, 1 minute for the meeting. Kirtana, it's wonderful having you back as the Sergeant at Arms. It was brilliant. And I thought you brought in the old energy. It took us back to the 6 months before where you were the Sergeant at Arms and you did a wonderful job at that time. And today also you did a beautiful job routing the meeting along, bringing out a perspective that God gives us troubles just because he wants to enhance our wisdom. He gives us difficulties to strengthen our back. And then you linked it to the topic and then you brought on the president and you introduced her in a very different way, not by her profession, but by her quote, which said that people respect your position, but you have to be humble enough to be rooted enough. And I thought that was brilliant. So wonderful job done, Kirtana. But just I thought that why were you mentioning it again and again just for today? It's okay. You've done it today. Might be you could have changed it a little bit and said, loving it today. That would have made such a big difference, right? Or back with a bang. Just for today simply means that you don't want to do it and you're just forced to do it. So just for today, I'm going to do this. Yeah, come on. Yeah. So make it a little more positive next time. It's not just for today. We want you always in our club and say, I'm back with a bang, or you might say, loving it today, being the Sergeant at Arms again. So that makes a little difference. So maybe you're just for today, but the way in which you look at it makes a big difference. So otherwise, for a wonderful job, please give Keertana a big round of applause.
Thank you so much, Rajdeep sir. I am actually loving it today.
Yeah, please. Yeah, keep loving it today and love all your Toastmasters, including the general evaluator. Yeah, yeah. Okay, coming to the point. Now, we had the president after that, and our president is an epitome of sincerity. I always tell that, when she was the vice president education, the way she used to call up and arrange for meetings and go around doing it, a brilliant job as a vice president education, and continuing the legacy as a president. I think so. Whenever she speaks from a perspective of sincerity. And I think so, if there is one quality which we should all epitomize from Hannah, it is her sincerity. And today, as sincere as ever, she started off with talking about the Toastmasters. She started talking about her family, and she told about, and she's very, very, her sincerity comes with a little bit of vulnerability, where she talked about her brothers going through addiction and a family support and her 5 cousin sisters. And she talked about several aspects of how a family can be a root for your success. And she connected all that, and she brought out a very, very touching and a very nice introduction to the meeting. What I felt, Hannah, was a very good job touching the audience, but sometimes I felt that the speech was a little scattered. There were too many things which are put in. First, you talked about a Toastmaster who told you that it's great to be rooted, and then you went on to your family, and then you spoke about your addiction, and then the UGC, and all.
It is a perfect example of a particular quality or type.
Okay, wonderful. I think so. The sincerity is getting a little too much, but what happened was she actually, you scattered it a little bit. Might be you would have had one pointed message that, okay, my brothers went through an addiction problem and they were brilliant. But even after they went through the addiction, because we had family support and the roots of the family tree were so strong that we could withstand that gate. And if that message would have come out, it would have given a better perspective to the entire introduction. But otherwise, a great job done, Hannah. Fantastic. I love your sincerity, your vulnerability, your charm. You are an absolute blessing to the Bangalore Toastmasters Club. So please give Hannah a big round of applause.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajdeep. Thank you.
After that, we had the stand-in secretary, because Keertana is the secretary of our club, and we had Vishal who was reading out, and Vishal has made it a habit to be the stand-in secretary. Last term, he was the stand-in secretary for Preeti, always assisting the secretary. I don't know what he likes, but he loves to be around the secretarial job, and he's doing a wonderful job. I think so. He read out the secretarial minutes with a lot of gusto, with a lot of clarity, and he tried to bring in a lot of energy into the way in which he read the minutes of the secretarial minutes. It was brilliant. Very nicely done, Vishal. You always stand in. You stood in for Preeti Verghese last term, and this time you stood in for Keertana, and I think so wonderfully done. Just a small thing. I don't know if you wrote the minutes of the previous meeting, but sometimes what happens is, as a secretary, we get carried away by cliches. And I thought that was one thing which was in your minutes, like, oh, he gave an amazing speech. So for everybody who gave the speech last week, it was amazing. You repeated the word amazing at least 2-3 times. And then, oh, Joe Paul gave a clinical evaluation, and it was clinically evaluated by something. So sometimes you'll have to take this perspective of using different words, because sometimes it becomes a little cliche, everybody's amazing, everybody's clinical. So if everybody's amazing and everybody's clinical, we'll land up in the hospital. So you have to be a little more different. He gave a very, very pointed evaluation, used different words. It was a fantabulous speech session, and you converted a young Chaitra Chanda Pillai to a mature Chetna Rajendran. So be a little careful about the words, because Chaitra will come and hit you because you told Chaitra was the secretary. So be a little careful there. But otherwise, for your gusto, for you always standing up for the secretary, please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. After that, we had our brilliant Toastmaster of the day, Sakshi Thakral. And I must tell you that Sakshi is an amazing person, a graduate from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. And you did your Tata Institute of Social Sciences, right, Sakshi?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And you're also a doctor, right?
Dentist. Yes.
Dentist, right? So a person who went for her calling, being a doctor, she decided that my passion lies in social service. She did at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and she's now working in an NGO. So moving from a medical profession to a social facing profession, I think so. I've always been a big fan of yours, Sakshi. So brilliant. And today, for the first time, you took over the Toastmaster of the Day role and you did a brilliant job. I think so. The preparation was impeccable, because right from yesterday, I was getting messages that please, can you speak to me? And then today you had every speaker, including the Taggle team, the timer, having their introduction as what they do, what was their best memory. Everything was detailed. It was very nicely done. You connected everybody. You called upon the timer, and then the R counter, the grammarian. You introduced me in the best possible way. So your strength was your introductions. You introduced every person in the best possible way. I think so. You did your homework brilliantly. I think so. The way you carried on the meeting was very well. And even though at the last moment there was one speaker who backed out, you actually carried that through and you mentioned it. And good you mentioned it, because sometimes as a Toastmaster of the Day, you just want to hide things under the carpet that a speaker has backed out at the last moment. But you didn't do that. You said, okay. And we also wished for her speedy recovery of her grandfather. I know her grandfather is very sick, because she had prepared till the afternoon. I'm her mentor. And so I think so. You were very frank, you were sincere, you were open, you carried the meeting well. And I think so. It's a big, big plus for you that you carried on the meeting brilliantly in the first session. If I were to give a small suggestion, what I felt was that some of the introductions, when you were reading it, means I can't see, but I could I could hear the papers flip in the background. So it looks like you're reading, So even if you're reading, don't make it evident. Because if you have a general evaluator who can only listen, he'll be listening to all these small paper movements. So I don't know what you read. Book mein likha hai kya, Sakshi? You have written it in a book or what?
Yeah, notebook. Yeah.
Yeah. So next time use cards so that nobody knows. Correct? So write in a card and then keep changing the
Got it.
cards. If you read in a book, right, and you turn the book, tuck, right, it gives an impression. But imagine you have cards and everybody's thinking, oh my God, she knows so much, right? So sometimes it's not only the way in which you present, but the way in which you hide a good presentation, which also makes a difference. But besides that, a wonderful job, Sakshi. So please give Sakshi a big round of applause. Wonderful job, Sakshi. Keep it up. And for the first time, may you do many more TMOD roles in this club. Wonderful job.
Thank you, sir.
Then we had the first speaker of the day, Rajanna. And to evaluate Rajanna, we have a wonderful evaluator, Somshekhar. So Somshekhar, sir, you can take over.
Thank you, General Evaluator TM Rajanna, and your attention, Toastmaster Rajanna. Let me just give my overview of what I felt after listening to your speech. You were very calm, composed, and it was a very structured speech, I would say, very well organized. The speech had a good opening in a meme, which definitely aroused curiosity. The body of the speech was great too. The flow of content was fine. And at the end, you had an appeal. Now, how you could have concluded, I'll come to that later. But overall, clarity in voice, you didn't show any sign of nervousness and the eye contact. I'm just looking from a camera perspective here. It was good. You really stood in front of camera and you were at ease. This definitely makes a good speech, Rajanna, and I loved it. For a great speech done, let's give Rajanna a round of applause. Now, let me come to the guideline of the speech. One of the main focus, which says research, a speech which is well researched. So here is my personal opinion, Toastmaster Rajanna. Now, in the entire speech, there were references to three things, and one of them actually was from an article in a newspaper, and then it was procrastination.com. I felt this was actually too abstract. When we say research, generally people expect some statistics to really come through, right? And the sources of research also. Like, procrastination.com, we'll have rajdeep.com actually, which shows all the things, right? Now, what kind of source is that is what actually people will question. So usually the source is something, of course, you quoted it, but I felt this could have been improved. Like, I later looked into some of the content, which was showing procrastination has quadrupled in last 30 years. And it is 85 to 90% of the students who procrastinate, right? And 40% of the people have experienced financial losses. These are some of the contents I was gathering around from some of the research papers. So, Rajan, my appeal to you is, this, I think, according to me, is actually research than just quoting a content from an article. So from that perspective, maybe the you could work out a little bit more. And also at one part of your speech, you are mixing up this word like postponement, postponement, procrastination. I think these were some of the things which can be avoided as well. So I don't know, it was actually only at the beginning of the speech. So I was just trying to wonder what exactly was the title. So it was really simple, right? Procrastination. So we need not really confuse the audience with such kind of mixed up jargons is what I personally felt. And the last thing I just want to touch upon is on the ending or the closure of the speech. So usually, Rajanna, I've seen that what the audience really take away is how you close the speech. Of course, you had a meme and I would remember that, but I felt Rajanna should be remembered for that great speech which he gave. And normally you'd have heard Rajdeep or many other great speakers where, they have that punching quote at the end or actually something will be ringing in your ears as you actually move on. So my personal suggestion is such kind of a closure, it would have been great. You just put a meme there and actually they said, okay, this is all about my speech. I think that came to me as actually kind of an abrupt ending, Rajanna. Overall, there was a message in the speech and you did deliver a great speech, which we'll all remember for procrastination. And in 2022, I'm very sure you have helped us to make another resolution. Only going by the fact that the research should have been of a better depth. You being a financial guy, I know actually what really research means to you, right? With that suggestion, I would say we enjoyed your speech and thanks for delivering a great project. Over to you, Toastmaster Rajdeep Kumar.
Thank you, Somsekhar sir. I reminded of another punch quote because you talked about a quote. There are three types of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. So when you talked about statistics, I just remembered that because sometimes when you collect research, like 40% of financial losses are because of procrastination. Very, very interesting. Who's done that research? Anyway, but great job done, Somsekhar sir. I think so you have a throat infection, Somsekhar sir, but your voice is sounding very sexy today. Keep it up, Somsekhar sir. Husky voice, huh? Nice. What's happened, Somsekhar sir? Anything, you got a cold or something?
I think the entire Bangalore is.
Oh, yeah, I can understand. I know. So it's sounding better, Soma. You keep it this way. Keep. Okay, Rajanna, I think so. You must take the suggestions. Might be you could use a little bit of statistics and I think so. You could have elaborated on post postponement leads to postponement. Might be if you postpone things, it leads to pain later on in life. So if you would have explained that, Somsekhar would have understood what you're trying to tell, that, you know, if you procrastinate or you postpone things, it leads to pain at a later point. And also I thought when you talked about those 3 points were pretty valid. I think so you could have made it a little more memorable by saying, okay, can I give you a formula to avoid procrastination? And this formula is shed your ego, EGO, emotional pain, goals which are abstract, and over optimism. You talked about emotional pain as being the cause, then goals being abstract, and the third one being over optimism, right? So might be could have put it an EGO and made it more memorable, as he said. But otherwise, a good job, nicely researched. So for that, let's give Rajanna a big round of applause, and also Somsekhar a big round of applause. Keep it up, both of y'all. Then we had the very, very charming Nestor. I must tell you, when I was listening to this without my headphones, and as soon as Nestor came and he spoke a few words, my son who was around, he said, "Who's this speaking?" His voice was so catchy. You have that little tinge of accent which makes it so interesting, Nestor. Where did you pick this up? Are you from the USA? Nestor?
Spent too much time in American companies, probably, Dr. Rasdeep.
Probably. Wonderful, wonderful. We need that little American accent, you know.
I'll work a little more on my Texan trolls.
Texan troll. It's my son said, "Who's this? My God." And he came on screen and said, "He's not a foreigner." Okay, I said, "No, he speaks like a foreigner. He speaks." My God, it was brilliant. So that little American accent brings so much of that, you know, excitement.
From your son's shoulder. Very nice.
Yeah, I know. My son said that, and I already knew how you speak. So brilliantly done, Nestor. A wonderful job. And I think so you gave wonderful topics. I was wondering what could I point out, because everything you had questions at the beginning, you had a proper topic, you had long topics, short topics, and you tried to involve everybody. The only thing is, there was a small glitch where people weren't responding, and that's not your fault. But you know, your table topics brought up a lot of pain points among people. You know, when you asked Kamlesh, you know, what was the best thing you heard, he said that don't judge a cover by its book. Sleep sometime with that person, spend some time with that person. It's clearly he's mentioning about his wife. You can make out, and you can make out he has a colored shirt and all. He wants a little more color in his life. Understand? So you could make out the pain points. And Alan Arana, how much he spoke against studies. My God, I don't know if he passed or what. Alan, you cleared all your subjects, correct? Geography is horrible. History is horrible. Studies don't make anything in life. He repeated it 5 times. So wonderful. I enjoyed that, right? And Deepa also talking about her people don't judge you. Remember, I told the 18-40-60 rule. It reminded me, you know, at 18, you're always wondering what other people are thinking of you. At 40, you come to know that only a few people are thinking of you. And at 60, you realize that nobody was thinking of you. So brilliantly. And Jeenam, you're giving a table topics. You're not giving an answer in a class. You asked him a question and he answered in 1 line and he shut up. What's happening, Jainam? 2 minutes, you speak for 15 seconds and Nestor is confused. I am confused. Everybody is confused. That's what happens if you do MSc in statistics. Everything is in 1 line, I think, right? So be a little more expressive, Jainam. Speak a little more. Vijay Sai did a little bit of popularizing of his training and all. Oh, there are training programs going on in the background. But even then, I'm such a committed Toastmaster. So we got to know a lot of shades of personality among all these people. But I think so, Nestor, you did a wonderful job. Fantastic. Keep it up. I thought you also connected very well. After each person speaking, you connected very well. Now, if I had to just say something for the sake of speaking, might be you could have given a tip on how to handle table topics at the beginning. Might be give a point, explanation point, and just give a formula to the people so that you don't land up with people like Jainam giving you 1-line answers. Okay, so that is the only suggestion which I have, but a great job done. So please give Nestor a big round of applause. Okay, right. Now we come to our role takers who are going to take it forward. So we have the timer in Akhilesh. Akhilesh, can you
Thank you, Toastmaster
Hmm.
Rajdeep. In prepared speeches, Toastmaster Rajanna took 8 minutes, so exceeded by a minute. In table topics, Toastmaster Aaron and Toastmaster George were within the timelines. Toastmaster Dolly and Toastmaster Jainam spoke less than a minute, and rest all the speakers took more than the specified time. And in evaluations, Toastmaster Somashekar took 4 minutes 40 seconds, so exceeded by 1.5 minutes more. So that's my crisp report, and back to you, Toastmaster Rajdeep.
Wonderful, wonderful. And as the R counter, we had Sanjay Rao. Sanjay?
Thank you, Rajdeep sir. So I'm going to mention the crutch words and the repeated words that people that have repeated that I have noticed. So Hannah repeated 5 R's and 2 ums and a lot of basically. Sakshi repeated the word also. Rajanna used the crutch word R 8 times, 1 times, and he repeatedly used the word so. And Nestor, he repeated the R's 15 times and ums 6 times. And Rajdeep sir, you have used the word R 9 times. Somshekar sir, you have repeated the word you know and so a lot. Vishal used the 5 times, and as Rajdeep sir mentioned, amazing and clinically quite a bit. And Sudipto, he repeated the word 4 times, and Kamlesh 4 times, Alan 5 times, and George 8 times. Thank you. Over to you, General.
Thank you, Sanjay. And now we have the grammarian in Vinay.
Thank you, Rajib sir. Few of the good words what were used was procrastination. Other things were don't judge the book by its cover. If you do what you like, you will grow no matter what. Epitome is one fabulous word what I learned today. Gesto, postponement leads to postponement. I think these were the few things what I picked it as the best, the good suggestions, are the best words what used for the day.
Wonderful.
Back to you, Rajdeep, sir.
Wonderful. But how did you exercise at -6 degrees centigrade in Ladakh? I want to know. Was it with clothes on or without clothes? Okay, you answer that later. We'll
sure.
Wonderful, wonderful. Keep it up, Vinay. At least you laughed for it. Okay, and we had our listener in Utkarsh, the content creator. Wonderful. Utkarsh, I heard Yanni. I'm so thrilled. I'm so
good to hear that, Toastmaster. So I thank all of you for an engaging meeting today. Let me test your listening skills, and please be proactive in answering my questions. Toastmaster Hannah said, "No man is an island by himself, but he is a piece of a dash." What is that dash?
He's a piece of Chelsea. No, sorry.
He's a piece of a continent.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm just playing the fool. Yeah.
Toastmaster Rajanna said, "What spoke today, and what popular cartoon character was sleeping in the meme that was shown initially in a speech?"
Tom, cat.
Yeah, Tom from Tom and Jerry is the right answer. Now, Toastmaster Vijay said, "Something is the spice of life." What is the spice of life according to him?
Variety. Doing things different.
Exactly.
Doing things differently.
Exactly. The spice of life is being different. Who quoted the famous quote, "Don't judge a book by its cover"?
Toastmaster Kamlesh.
The right answer. Who said, "If you're interested in what you do, you will shine in life"?
Toastmaster Alan.
That's true. And finally, what quality of Toastmaster Hannah does DTM Rajdeep love the most?
Sincerity.
That's the right answer.
Likes genuinity.
Exactly that too. Back to you, Toastmaster Rajdeep.
Wonderful. Dash is the spice of life. Somebody said variety, where spice is the plural for spouse. Anyway, leave that alone. Let's come back to the end of the evaluation session. There is a famous forest in California called the Red Forest, which has some of the largest trees in the world. General Sherman, the redwood trees, which go up to 300 feet high, nearly as tall as a 30-story building. And they're there for nearly 15 centuries. They've seen Columbus, and any gale, storm, everything they have withered over a period of time. And researchers generally believe that because these are 300 feet tall trees, they will have roots of at least 600 feet. But when they did the eco scanning and the ground, when they dug up a little, they found that the roots were only approximately 20 feet lower than the ground, and they were carrying weights of 300 feet trees. But there was something special about these redwood trees. The roots of one tree get entangled with the roots of another tree, and they actually join each other. And the bonding between these roots is so strong that even though the roots are shallow, they've been able to stand for 15 centuries. So sometimes it's the togetherness, it's coming together, it's holding hands together, just like what happens in Toastmasters, which makes all the difference. It may not be the depth of the roots, but it may be the depth of the connections which you have, which make a big difference at Toastmasters. With that, I would like to thank the committee and everybody for this general evaluation session, and I would hand it back to our Toastmaster of the day, Sakshi.
Thank you, DTM Dr. Rajdeep, for an absolutely amazing and exhaustive feedback. Can we all please give a big round of applause to General Evaluator of the Day, Dr. Rajdeep Manwani. Moving on to the last section of the meeting, it would be a very interesting education session by DTM Dr. Matthew Verghese. Please allow me to introduce him. He just didn't fail, but failed miserably as a public speaker. He tried to make up in educational qualification what he lacked in communication. So he became a chartered accountant, cost accountant, certified public accountant, certified internal auditor, etc., etc. After 2+ decades in corporate, he switched over to personal development and academics. He's a human potential consultant with Procter Gallagher Institute, USA, and helps people transform their lives. He's also a faculty at Christ University, teaching CPA and CFA courses. Dr. Matthew has been to 30+ countries, and Japan is his favorite one. He believes each day is full of new opportunities, and that keeps him excited about life. I asked him, what's one lesson you want to say to younger self? He told, I'll tell younger Matthew, just shut all the voices in your head. Stop doubting yourself. Just go for it. Just do it. Can we all please join our hands and welcome DTM Dr. Matthew Verghese for an interesting education session.
A tree whose roots are deeply grounded fears no storm. What a wonderful theme. And we got a lot to learn about the red root trees. They grow 300 feet, but their roots are very shallow at 20 feet. What wonderful piece of information. But unfortunately, we are not trees. We are susceptible to the storms of life, like your president, Hannah Victoria, said. Or should I wait and say, fortunately, we are not trees. Because a tree has no option but to become a tree. But we have many options. It was Aristotle who would address the people, and he would have a little acorn in his hand, and he would show it to his audience and ask, what is in this acorn? And they would say, there's an oak tree in the acorn. And he would say, no, there is no oak tree in the acorn, but there is a patterned plan in the acorn, which when planted in a soil that is conducive to its unfoldment will result in that little acorn becoming a giant oak tree. When it's planted in that conducive soil, it will attract sunlight, it will attract earth which is required for its growth, and finally it blooms and becomes a giant oak tree. Can't help but draw a parallel with what happens in Toastmasters. We have a wonderful club where we meet week after week, and we are all here to develop our communication and leadership skills. And what better place to hone that skill than in a Toastmasters club? Even better when you're a member of Bangalore Toastmasters, the finest in the country. But this journey at times could be demoralizing. It could be frustrating. And that could distract us from our purpose of why we joined Toastmasters. I joined Toastmasters way back, around 11 years ago, at a ripe young age of 39. Now, some of you are doing the mental math and saying, goodness gracious, this guy doesn't seem half his age. Well, I agree with you. Many people tell me, you'll easily pass off as a 27-year-old. Well, the secrets of that later. But why I joined Toastmasters 11 years ago was just because I wanted to get over my stage fright. At age 14, I had a very bad experience on stage that caused me not to step on stage for the next 25 years. And my only purpose was to be able to stand in front of people and speak. And over these 11 years, I've had a lot of learnings that I would like to share with you today. What it takes to be a Toastmaster who gets the results he or she wants. How could you move from being a novice to being a novelty? And that just not applies in Toastmasters. It could apply in anything that you and I are involved in. Well, the first thing I learned is that you need to be a learner for life. Eric Hoffer once said, in order to learn, you need to have a certain level of confidence, not too little. If you will have too little, then you may think you cannot learn. Not too much, because you may think that you don't need to learn. So the right amount of confidence is what you and I require. Jim Rohn goes on to say that your learning should not result in knowledge. Well, you can have universities and colleges for that, but your learning should not result in knowledge, it should result in action. And one of the experiences I've had is this huge gap between knowing and doing. We all know what needs to be done. I know what needs to be done, and you know what needs to be done. But the problem is getting around doing what really needs to be done. And the more the gap is between knowing and doing, the more you are further away from what you are really after. And that's the reason one of the key things as a Toastmaster I have come to learn is that there is so much to learn, whether you're a novice or whether you're 5 years or whether you're 10 years or even more, there's always more to learn in Toastmasters. And that's the reason we come here week after week. Stephen Covey talks about the 7th habit, and he says, sharpen your saw. And that's the reason you and I come here week after week, so that we can sharpen our saw. There is this little video that's going around. I received that yesterday. It's about a person called Papa Rudy. He's 92 years old, and he's going around baking cakes, baking goodies, brownies, and whatever for his family. It is said that Papa Rudy learned baking at age 90. Hannah did mention about your club having members from age 18 to age 72. But Papa Rudy shows that even at 90, you can learn a new skill and you can keep going at it. So learning, be a learner for life is one of the lessons that I have learned. The second thing is attitude. Now, attitude, they say, is the foundation of success. If you've heard Earl Nightingale, he calls it the magic word, the differentiator. Your attitude towards the world will determine the world's attitude towards you. And that applies to Toastmaster or anything for that matter. Now, Earl Nightingale goes to explain what attitude really is. Well, we are used to using this word attitude very loosely. But what is attitude? She's got an attitude. He's got an attitude. But he says attitude is nothing but the composite of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. How you think, how you feel, and how you act determines your attitude. You would have read of Dr. Viktor Frankl. Now, between 1942 and 1945, he was arrested and put in various concentration camps. He lost his immediate family members, went through a lot of trauma, but he wrote a book. And in his book, he writes that doesn't matter what dehumanizing conditions and atrocities you're subjected to, there is still meaning and purpose in life. We heard our Toastmaster of the day, Sakshi, mentioning about her friend losing someone very close, and she came to a realization that everything has a reason. Viktor Frankl says something like that. He says, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedom, and that is how you and I can choose our own attitude and the way we choose to look at life in any circumstances. William James from Harvard, he says, human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitude. So to be moving into the space that you really want into as a Toastmaster, the first thing is to decide to be a learner for life. And second is about attitude. That brings me to my third point today, which is about having a worthy destination. It was Harold V. Melchert who once said, live your life each day as if you're climbing a mountain. He said, an occasional glance to the summit keeps your goal in mind. But there are many beautiful scenes to be enjoyed from each new vantage point. He says, climb slowly, steadily, and the view from the summit will be the fitting climax to your journey. I don't know whether that applies in Toastmasters, because every time you come back to a meeting, there's so much to learn from the people you hear, like in this meeting. So we never reach a summit. Or sometimes people reach the summit, but they come back to the base camp. And possibly that's the reason why Toastmasters has called their new program, Start from the Base Camp. We come back to the base camp and we want to reach the summit once again. Talking of this worthy destination, there was this, let's go back in time to 1936. There was a young sergeant who was a champion in shooting. And his aim was to be the world champion, not of public speaking, but in shooting. In 1936, however, in that Olympics, he couldn't participate because sergeants were not allowed to participate. Only commissioned officers were allowed to do so. But he eyed the next Olympics, which was 1940. Unfortunately, in 1938, something happened. He was part of the military, and during his military training, a grenade exploded in his hand. He lost his dominant hand, which he used to shoot, his right hand. All his dreams were shattered, or so people thought. But he had this worthy destination, and he was not willing to give up. He started practicing. In 1939, he won the nationals in Hungary. And he was ready for the 1940 Olympics. But unfortunately, both the 1940 and the 1944 Olympics had to be cancelled because of World War II. But he kept on his task. He never let go of his dream of being the world champion. And he had this worthy destination in his head. In 1948, he got the gold medal in the 25 meters rifle shooting. In 1952, he repeated that feat. 2 golds in 2 Olympics. Well, that's what a worthy destination can mean for you and me. So when we are on this journey as a Toastmaster, what is it, that destination that you and I have for ourselves? There has to be a destination for us to be coming to Toastmasters meeting week after week. We're all here for the long haul, to be better speakers and communicators, to be better leaders. But at the same time, a worthy destination would help us to take our game to a whole new level. It was Robert Heinlein who once said, in the absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely enslaved in performing daily trivia. So much so that eventually that enslavement takes us away from what we are really after. Now, you and I can avoid that. I want to go back to what Earl Nightingale said. He's one of the gurus of personal development. And he says, success is nothing but a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It means you never reach there. It's just work in progress. So you and I are work in progress. And in Toastmasters, that's an epitome of what we are after. We are never fully baked products, right? We are never finished goods. We all know that we are always after something, and there is so much room to improve, room for improvement, learning from the people around us. Having seen that we need to be a learner for life, having the right attitude, a worthy destination, I come to my 4th point, which is about having a definite plan. Now, the key word I would like to stress here is definite. You may change this plan, it doesn't matter, but at least to start off with, you need to have a plan. And I'd like to compare this Toastmasters journey with something like a bumper draw. Let's assume that you win a bumper draw. And your name is called out and you receive a call saying that, you know what, Hannah, we've picked your name and you're entitled to get a bumper draw. The bumper draw is worth 1 lakh rupees, but you only need to pay 5,000. There's a 95% discount. So Hannah Victoria, like she said, she consults her husband. She consulted her husband and he says, come on, you don't even need to ask me. This is a no-brainer, go for it. So she goes, she applies and she says, I'm going for it. The amount is sent via transfer. 2 days later, she gets a beautiful packet and it said, your gift is here. She opens it and it's a gift voucher, 26 coupons. And each coupon has a week mentioned on that. And it says it expires on that particular day of the week. And she can use it for 26 successive weeks. And it also says D-Mart, shop till you drop. Now she's delighted. She goes and yells to her 5 cousin sisters. She makes it known to the town that, you know what, this is what I have won. She even announces it in Bangalore Toastmasters WhatsApp group. Now that's something similar to what you and I get at the beginning of joining a Toastmasters term. Every week, every term, we are given 26 coupons by paying 5,000 or whatever the fees are. And we can use 1 coupon every week. Now it's up to you and me whether we want to use that coupon or we just let it expire. For all you know, after 26 weeks, we have used none of our coupons and therefore we renew for another 6 months. But what do we get out of it? We get nothing out of it. So having a definite plan would mean that we are able to use each of these coupons that we have in our possession to the best of to the best of whatever we can make of it in the most optimal way. Otherwise, it would be non-efficient and suboptimal utilization of being a part of a Toastmasters, even more a Bangalore Toastmasters Club that all of us take pride in, one of the oldest and the finest. That brings me to the next point. After having a definite plan, a plan is just not even worth the paper it's mentioned or written on unless you have the next step, which is execution. There was a doctor called Dr. Gonzalez. Now, he was not happy. He was a preacher and an academician, but he was not happy with what was happening in the universities. So he went to his higher-ups and says, we need to change the system. All his suggestions fell on deaf ears. And he said, I need to do something about it, and I need to be the head of the institution, something that I will start that can help the community. So he drew a plan, a detailed plan. And when he did the costing, he said he requires $1 million US. And this is way back in time. A huge sum of money. He played with this idea for almost 2 years. He was gripped with this idea. He said he woke up with this idea and he went to sleep with it, but he did nothing about it but think. And one Saturday, he was sitting in his room and suddenly he got an idea and he said to himself, I'm going to get the $1 million very soon. I've made up my mind that I need to get the $1 million so that I can go ahead and do the things that's playing in my head for so long. He called the press, the newspapers, and he said, I'm going to give a sermon tomorrow. What I will do when I have $1 million. He said that Saturday afternoon, sitting in his room, he wrote his sermon. He said it didn't take him much time. Before evening, he was done with his sermon. And in his words, he says, I was able to do that because I've been playing and toying with this idea for the past 2 years. The next morning, he woke up, went on his knees, looked up and asked, Providence, I hope this speech of mine will reach a person who can help me. He stood on the pulpit only to realize that he had forgotten his script. In his excitement, he left his house, but he didn't have the script. It was too late to go back, and therefore he spoke from his heart. After he spoke, a man from the back bench walked towards him and said, I believe what you said you can do with the $1 million US. Meet me in my office tomorrow. My name is Philip Armour. And that's how came to being the Armour Technical Institute. You see, talk is cheap, but execution is what differentiates people. And that's the reason Van Gogh once said, I dream my painting and then I paint my dream. You know, all your dreams is worth nothing unless you and I get up and pursue it. What differentiates you and me is action. What differentiates us from the successful people is action. Some of you are really action-oriented. Some of us aren't as much. And that's the differentiator. If you ask me for statistics, we had Rajanna talk about procrastination today. And Earl Nightingale has a beautiful quote on what procrastination is all about. He rather talks about non-action takers. And he says, 95% of the people are like ships without rudders. Subject to every shift in the wind or tide, he says they are hopelessly adrift. And they all fondly hope that they will reach a successful port, not to be. But then he says, there are the 5%. These 5% take the time. They decide on a destination. They chart a course. And they sail straight and far across the deep oceans of life, achieving far more in 1 year than what others would have achieved in a lifetime. So as procrastinators, like Rajanna said, we all have a share of that. If Rajanna would have asked me, raise your hand if you're guilty, I would be the first one to do that. But we can always move from the 95% to the 5%. And I believe that most of us here have already taken the step, being a part of this club and attending a meeting at 8:30 in the evening. That reminds me it's my time now. So I'll quickly wind up. When you have all these 5 things that I mentioned about, which is your, the learning, when you know that you're here for the long haul and you're here to learn, when you have the attitude of grasping everything, when you have a definite or a worthy destination, a definite plan, when you are all out to execute, that's when you and I are going to get the results that you and I hope to get when we join Toastmasters. There was once a farmer who poked a little pumpkin into a jug. He poked it and he watched it grow, but the pumpkin grew as much as the size of the jug. Now, many of us are running the risk of poking ourselves in a small jug. We can't blame the pandemic. We can't blame the company. We can't blame Vice President Education Smita Roshi. We have only ourselves to blame here. Sometimes we are the ones who do the poking. So to conclude, how is it that you and I can move from novice to novelty? The first thing is to be a learner for life. The second is attitude, having a worthy destination, having a definite plan. And I stress on the word definite here. You may change it, but at least you need to start with something that you think you can go after. Execute it to the best of your ability and finally reap the rewards, reap the results that you are after. Of late, we hear a lot about Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister. And he's in the news for the wrong reason. He organized a party which was called Bring Your Own Booze. At a time when everyone was asked to maintain social distancing, they were having a party in 10 Downing Street. Well, we can't imagine such a thing happening. Bring your own booze to Bangalore Toastmasters. That can never happen here. I'm not sure. Hannah would tell you whether it happens or not, but I don't think so it could happen in a Toastmasters. But you know what? We have a different kind of a party every week. And we don't tell people, bring your own booze. We tell people, bring your own ladder. Because your growth is going to depend on the ladder that you're going to bring. And the 6 things that I told you are the 6 rungs of the ladder. The L is learning. The A is attitude. The D is a worthy destination. The other D I said was a definite plan. The E is execution, and the R is results. So if you want to move from being a novice to being a novelty, especially in the space that you are after, that you are in right now, whether it's Toastmasters, whether it's your company, whether it's your relations, whether it's your finances, whether it's your fitness, whether it's your faith, we all go through these 6 steps of the ladder. And finally, your rewards will be according to the ladder that you are carrying. So my wish for you today is that your ladder is tall enough that you may reap the rewards of being a member of this wonderful club. May you soar to great heights. May you use all the coupons that you have. May you make Hannah and Smita Roshi happy by offering your roles, and may this club grow to greater heights. Thank you.
It was such an inspiring session, DTM Dr. Matthew. You shared some beautiful life lessons. I feel super pumped up, and I'm sure rest everyone would be so. Thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us. Can we all give a big round of applause to DTM Dr. Matthew?
Thank you, Sakshi. Thank you.
As we are close to the end of the meeting, I would like to thank the committee for giving me this role, and a special thanks to Toastmaster Smita. It was my first time and I was really anxious, but she walked me through the whole agenda and she was a constant support. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Smita. And now I hand over the control to our President, Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sakshi. You did a tremendous job and very well done, very well done. A big round of applause to Toastmaster Sakshi. Thank you, DTM Matthew Verghese. It was a pleasure, as always, to listen to you, and how well you connected to all our speeches made us feel so special. Each and every speaker, I think you have weaved into whatever you have already prepared. And so many names I have jotted down to Google out more about. And it's time very well spent listening to you, DTM Matthew Verghese. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd now like to announce the the passcode for the best role taker. It's 1308. The link is in the group as well. So as you guys vote, thank you so much to the guests who've come. I've seen quite a lot of guests, especially the speech crafters. There are at least 4 speech crafters who have joined in today. Manjunath is there. I saw Manjunath, Parthiban, and then I saw Prabhakar. I think Prabhakar also was from an earlier speech craft done a year ago. So it was great to see, though I could not see your videos, but I know that you all were present, and so glad that you all are in the meeting. And any guests around, first time guests who've, Saumya Agrawal?
Yeah, hi.
Oh, hi. So I just wanted to know. Yeah. Sorry, your name is?
I think you probably thought of me. I don't know the girl.
Yeah, okay, I got the name. Please go ahead and introduce yourself, and how did you come to know about the Bangalore Toastmasters Club?
Hi everyone. So I'm an engineer working in an urban company, like the company you call for haircuts and all. And I got to know about Toastmasters, like I was interested in debating in college, so I took part in a few contests, and like I was kind of wondering then to take part in Toastmasters and all, but then it just didn't happen. Then I was, going through meetup.com and I saw Toastmasters there, so I just joined right away.
Great, and I do hope you enjoyed the session. A lot of learnings.
Yeah.
Great. Look forward to seeing you as well. Vimika, I seen another guest. Vimika, first time. Okay. Sai Narayan. Okay. Guru Raj. All these I'm seeing for the first time, so it will be good. Any other guests who could share how did you come to know about the Bangalore Toastmasters and
Toastmaster Hannah, can I?
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Toastmaster Hannah. So my name is Rupa and I'm from Amrita Toastmasters Club, Coimbatore, and I look forward to joining my work in Bangalore after 6 months. So I was exploring all these Toastmasters clubs in Bangalore, and yours was one of the first ones that turned up. And I really enjoyed today's meeting and have a lot to take away. Thanks.
Great, great to know. And very well spoken, Ruma. Quite very confident and good to hear you. Okay, we now have the results of the meeting today. The best Taggle role player goes to Toastmaster Utkarsh Joshi.
Thank you, ma'am.
The best role taker goes to DTM Dr. Rajdeep Manwani. The best table topic speaker, there is a tie between Toastmaster Vijay Sai and guest Rupa. I think Toastmaster Vijay Sai is winning the the table topic master for the second time in a row. Congratulations, Vijay. And yeah, and we didn't vote for the speaker because there was only one speaker. So that's it for today. It was great having all of you on the meeting. We had a good number, and it was we learned so much from DTM Matthew Verghese, stressed so much about why we are into Toastmasters, and I do hope that all of us take this journey seriously with the ladder